It took me months of searching, watching every video, and reading every single forum on the World Wide Web to understand how affirmations work. And because I love you and I don't want you to suffer, I have distilled all that knowledge into this very video. So from now on, I don't want to see you ever wasting your time watching another video on affirmations, but instead, practice affirming. As usual, here are the timestamps on the screen and in the description below. So, chapter 1, understanding. What are affirmations? Affirmations are basically positive statements that you repeat over and over to trick your subconscious mind into believing that you already have what you want to manifest. So, for examples, I make $1 million every year, I am so loved, I sociable, whatever. So I mentioned the subconscious mind, but what is the subconscious mind? The subconscious mind is the unconscious part of your brain that holds your deep beliefs about yourself and the world. It is the one responsible for your identity. So we work to change the thoughts in your subconscious, because if we change those, they will reflect back in your reality, because your subconscious mind is like responsible for like 95% of your actions, and compared to your conscious mind, it's only responsible to very little chunk of how you see reality. So that's why we work on changing the subconscious mind. So how do affirmations work? They change your automatic or subconscious thoughts. They reprogram your subconscious mind. They work on your dominant thoughts, basically. So if you change your dominant assumptions about your reality, you're gonna change your reality itself. The 3D is gonna conform to the 4D, and 3D means your physical reality, what you see. 4D is like your thoughts, your assumptions. So that's what people mean when they say 3D and 4D. Okay, so who are affirmations for? Like, they suit, in my opinion, they suit mostly people who think in words. If you're someone who's an auditory learner, if you find it also hard to imagine, it will be really helpful for you. But in my opinion, anyone can use them. Like for me, I do like visualizing. Like I just finished creating my vision board, so so yeah, if you find yourself to find it hard to imagine, don't worry, you don't have to visualize your desires. You can just affirm, basically. So how do you formulate your affirmations? So, my most important tips for formulating your affirmations is to make them present tense, like you already got it, to make sure it sounds natural. Like, don't use this format that some stock ones have, like, I am loved, I am rich, I am whatever. If they do resonate with you, do it. But if they don't use them. Use ones that make sense to you. Like you can say, like, I'm so rich, it's so crazy. How come I'm so rich? How come I'm so loved? Like everyone around me is obsessed with me. Like it sounds more natural. There's more feelings to it, and like feelings are very important in affirmations. You have to feel your affirmations for them to work better. Another thing I'd say that is important to keep in mind is to keep your affirmations few, like 1 or 2 affirmations. Like, it's better to not focus on that many affirmations, because 1 or 2 affirmations are, one, easy to remember, two, you don't have this decision paralysis, like, oh, which affirmation should I use? Should I use this? Oh, I haven't affirmed much for this aspect of my life. No, choose one. This one is the one you're gonna keep repeating until you see results. Thirdly, the other reason to stick to 1 or 2 affirmations is because it means more repetitions. If you have 100 affirmations that each you repeat 100 times, you could have just had one which you repeat it for 10,000 times. I hope I did the math correctly. I'm a statistics student and I can't even do that. But anyways, so yeah, more repetitions, more saturation, like your mind is more saturated with the same thought, so it is more likely to believe it. Okay? And last important tip before we go on to how to choose your affirmations is to be persistent, to trust, and to stay consistent. That's so important in affirmations. Don't switch up your affirmations. Like, you can just look at it as a challenge to see if you can control your mind and your automatic thoughts. Like, it is not about making magic happen. It is about reminding yourself of who the F you are. You are the magic itself. You are a miracle. You being a human being, alive, healthy, and with a consciousness, living in a crazy time as ours right now is a miracle. And you still think you can't get like a little measly desire you have in your heart? Like, be for real. You can. How to choose your affirmations. So there are three ways to decide. You can decide based on desire. For example, choose a desire you really want to have. An example of that would be my application at company X was accepted. Or you can decide based on a topic or a concept. For example, you focus on a broad topic like love, money, whatever. So you could say, employers always want to hire me. All my applications got accepted. So this is like the upper level of the desire that I just mentioned. Okay. Or you can focus on self concept, and self concept is much broader. It's about focusing on the story the person who has your desire would have about themselves. Okay, so it's not very specific to any situation. So, for example, a self concept affirmation to go along the same lines of being hired is, I'm a winner, I am worthy of what I want, I'm always chosen, everyone picks me. So you can decide one of them, or you can mix up all of these into one affirmation because it's the same topic. So you could say, everyone chooses me, like all employers want to hire me. Actually, the other day, my application at company X got accepted. So yeah, like this is a whole one affirmation. You can shorten it a little bit because it's a little long, but yeah, you can mix these types to see what works well for you. And after choosing the affirmation, understand how your body feels about the affirmation. So, one way I like doing that is putting my hand on my heart and just say the affirmation. Everyone chooses me, for example. Then take a breath and take a moment to just observe how your body feels, or any thoughts or feelings that come up for you, any unpleasant or pleasant emotions or sensations coming up for you. Note them down, write them down, keep a mental note because these are important. These will help you to understand your mental blocks. The more resistance you feel, the better. It means you are really addressing your blocks with your affirmation. You can also compare how you feel about the affirmation to something you already believe. For example, my name is Zay. Okay, I feel normal. Everyone chooses me. Oh, I feel some tightness. Okay, that's interesting. For me, I like using I am smart as the baseline affirmation to compare to because I have a solid belief with that. So yeah, choose a belief. Next, we can consider some dimensions when thinking about creating your affirmations. For example, if you speak more than one language, you can use the one you speak most with. Even though English is not my first language, I prefer to use it because I'm just used to consuming content and talking in it. You can also combine multiple languages. Sometimes I combine multiple languages while I'm rampaging, which we'll get to later. So, if you're like me and you like talking to yourself and you actually use multiple different perspectives to talk to yourself, you can mix the first, second, and third POV when speaking your affirmations, especially if you're walking by the mirror. Of course, first person affirmations are the best, but if you like talking in other POVs, do it. Make sure to keep it natural though. Like, if you're like me, you're like, girl, you look so good when you pass by in the mirror. Keep the same energy consistent with your affirmations, okay? If you tend to have some negative self talk in third person, second person, whatever, keep it consistent with the affirmations. And about mirrors, because I've talked about them, I want you to make sure to show yourself some love every time you walk or pass the mirror, okay? So, another thing to consider is you can change them into questions. I think they're called ask formations or affirmations. So ask formations are really helpful because they imply that you already have the thing that you desire. Like if you say, why am I always surrounded by friends? It's like the answer to this question already implies that you already got it, basically. Like, yeah, you already have the friends. Why am I so rich? So you're already rich. That's the implicit information from this, or not so implicit, I guess. But yeah, it's the background information, I guess. Also, our brains love answering questions, so it will come up with reasons for this. Why does everything work out for me? So you can also use affirmation that speak to your different senses, which are also related to your chakras, but I'm not gonna talk too much about that. But basically, you can use I am affirmations, I feel affirmations, I act or I do affirmations, I love affirmations, I say or I speak affirmations, I see affirmations, I know, I understand affirmations. So if I were to rampage about it, I want to say, I am so rich. I feel so abundant every day. I act like the rich woman I am. I don't know. I love money. I love how money loves me. I speak money into existence. I see money and abundance reflected to me in all areas of my life. I know I will always be rich until the day I die. So, if you listen to affirmations, it is good to explore listening to both male and female voices because it basically mirrors the support you might have lacked from either of your parents. So, if you have some parental wounds, maybe your parents either or both didn't validate you enough. In my opinion, if you want to explore that and use a text to speech software, I recommend using Clipchamp, which is an online editing software. And I'm gonna show you how it works. So basically, you open it, you go to the create options and write the affirmations in the TTS software. You choose one of the voices you like. For me, it is either Sarah or Jacob. I also set it to the whispering tone because it's just so relaxing. And then I download it as a 2080 pixels video because we don't want to use up space for no reason. And lastly, you convert them to MP3 if you wanna, because you don't have to open it as a video every time. But I generally prefer recording my own voice, so I don't use this technique that much. But if you want to explore with both male and female voices, go ahead. You can also go online on YouTube and type in affirmation related to what you want to manifest, but I just think it's better to create your own because you can focus on one or two affirmations. Another tip, a little unconventional, would be to ask your loved one, someone you love, to record an affirmation for you. Like listening to a loved one saying them back to you can be very powerful and very affirming. So consider that. Now, chapter 2, which is all about the techniques. Such a long chapter, so let's get started. As I said earlier, you can focus on a few affirmations or you can do it in a form of a story. So our minds naturally gravitate to what reads like a narrative, especially if it's too long. So if I say to you, I am rich, I make $1 million, I a billionaire. Okay, don't be billionaires, by the way. But that sounds so boring and it's not that long. But let's say I say I am rich, like I'm so rich, like I make so much money every day, I get paid to exist. Like, you see how I'm literally becoming a millionaire. See, like it's longer, but it's more engaging, and your mind needs to be engaged during these affirmations. So if you have long list of affirmations, do them in a story form. Okay, and these story forms are called rampages actually. So that's what I was talking about earlier. So you can do them when you're talking to yourself in the mirror. So that's mirror work for you. You can also listen to others, and some of my favorite rampages are from these two YouTubers. You can also imagine yourself talking to someone else about the desire as if you already have it. So have a whole conversation in your head embodying the person who got it. And of course, pay attention to not getting sidetracked from being the person who has it into any kind of doubt. Doubt has no time No space when we are affirming, okay? When we are affirming, we focus on the desired reality. Doubts, whatever negative feelings are coming up, they have their other time when we're meditating, when we're journaling, not right now, okay? So, second cluster of techniques is saturation techniques. So, it's about like making sure you are always fed the affirmation at high quantities. For example, you could use reminders. If you're a beginner, you can use an hourly reminder to remind you to affirm. For me personally, I use a minutely affirmation reminder. So I just have my affirmation as a minutely reminder. So whenever I'm using my phone, I gotta affirm. You can also use reminders to saturate your mind in the form of specific activities. For example, whenever you're on social media, you gotta affirm because like it's a mindless activity. You might as well use your mind for something that is helpful and productive. Or you can like pair it to exercise. For me, I like affirming whenever I'm going on my morning hot girl walk. So another form of saturation techniques are saturation sessions. So basically you either decide to use time as your session or a specific challenge. For example, you can set a timer to repeat an affirmation over and over for as long as you can. For example, you can go for 10 minutes affirming the same affirmation, closing your eyes, imagining yourself, or not imagining, it doesn't have to. You don't have to imagine anything, but just repeating the affirmation over and over until the timer finishes, or maybe you play some frequencies. And you can take it up as long as you can, like even an hour session if you feel like it. You can have these multiple times in the day, you can make a specific time for it. You can do it as soon as you wake up or before you sleep. For me personally, I have this technique that I like to call Pinterest saturation session, which is a more fun technique than just setting a timer, and that's about it. So how it works is that I play a subliminal, we're gonna talk about these later, related to the affirmation, and then I open my vision board. So I have a huge vision board where anything I want to manifest, anything I like basically, and then I just swipe through it while focusing on the images, videos that pop up, and repeat my general self concept affirmation. For example, everything I do works. And then specifying an affirmation related to the picture. For example, if I see a picture of an iPad and I want to buy an iPad, I would say, everything I do works. Like, I literally have my iPad, for example. This is an example of a combination. So, like we said before, you can combine them in interesting ways. So it kind of feels to me like combining rampaging with visualizing techniques into affirmations, which is cool. Another form of saturation techniques or saturation sessions are numerical challenges. Basically, you stick to an affirmation until you reach a specific amount of hours, for example, 24 hours. So you don't have to affirm like for 224 hours straight. It's just about measuring how much time you affirmed until you reach the 24 hours. For example, one day you might have affirmed for like 30 minutes, the other day for 5 minutes, the other day 10 minutes. Then they add up to reach 24 hours. So that's your challenge. Or you can do an affirmation challenge that is about reaching a specific number of repetitions. The most popular one you might see is the 10K challenge, which is about repeating the affirmation like 10,000 times. And it's because there's like some science behind that. It takes like 10,000 repetitions for a new neural pathway to solidify in your mind, which is basically what manifestation is about. Like, we can talk about the subconscious and unconscious, but on a neurological, biological level, that's what manifestation is about. It's about the new neural pathways. So now let's talk about other general techniques. So we have subliminal messages, which are basically messages that you can't hear. So when you play the audio, you might only hear the rain sounds, the frequencies. You might not hear the actual message, or you might hear it, but it would be so hard to decipher what is being said. It's usually sped up also, so it passes immediately to the subconscious mind. is because it's a subliminal. It's below the comprehension of the conscious mind, because the conscious mind is the one that decides what gets to enter the mind. Like, do I um believe this statement? If I say I am rich but I am broke, it wouldn't believe it. But if it's a subliminal, it's gonna enter immediately, so it wouldn't have the chance to reject my affirmation. Basically, my recommendation with like subliminal messages is to choose ones that you can kind of hear, like you can hear some kind of noise. That's what I like doing. I like the creator I want it, I got it, so you can try that, because their affirmations don't use universe or God talk, so they're very religious and spiritual friendly, by the way. It is also recommended that you drink water, because if you don't, you're gonna have a headache basically, and your mind uses a lot of water to actually comprehend and compute stuff and analyze and think, so it's good to drink water. And also, my last recommendation is to listen while you are not doing something that's mentally stimulating. Like an example would be studying, because I found when I used to do that my work usually slowed down. So another technique for affirming is affirmation tapes, which is basically just a recording that we talked about. You listen to the recording. Most tapes you would see out there are like sleep affirmation tapes, so you just listen to it while you sleep, because that's when your subconscious mind is the most susceptible to new messages. If you don't want to grab affirmations off the internet, you can use the Promise app or the Think Up apps to generate your own easily and listen to them overnight. Or you can just record your affirmation or use Clipchamp like a specified. Another way to combine affirmations with other techniques is using meditation, holistic movement exercises like yoga and stuff. It calms your mind, and when your mind is at its calmest state, that's when it is easier for the messages to enter your mind, okay? You can also use frequencies to help them seep deeper into your mind. It is usually recommended to use the 432 hertz frequency. You can also use guided meditations that are embedded with frequencies and affirmations. Like, some of them already have it, so yeah, you just listen to them and get into the state. You can also listen to hypnosis videos, which are basically the same as meditations, but they work on getting you into an even calmer state, so you're closer to the theta state basically, which is the state where your mind is very susceptible. It's usually when you wake up or right before you sleep. Another way I like practicing my affirmations is using EFT tapping, and I'll link to that. And very phenomenal video that I think I'll link into every single video you guys would watch in my channel. But basically, use EFT tapping with bridging affirmations. And bridging affirmations, in my opinion, are about acknowledging the feeling but negating the thought. So, for example, I could say, even though I feel anxious right now, I know everything I do works. So, yeah, you're acknowledging that I feel anxious, but I'm not gonna waver. I'm always gonna persist. I'm gonna stay consistent with how I think. I'm gonna think like I'm in my desired reality, which is about controlling your assumptions, okay? We're controlling our assumptions, not our feelings here, okay? You can also combine affirming with religious, spiritual practices. For example, practices. For example, when I pray to God, I thank Him for my area of manifestation. I ask for my manifestation. Then, lastly, I thank Him as if I got it. Then I might like do some affirming, like regular affirmations. I might say, thank you. Thank you, God, for the amazing love I've seen in my life. God, could you please give me amazing friends? God, thank you for the amazing friends I got. I have amazing friends. I'm always surrounded with amazing friends. So yeah, that's kind of a small prayer you can do. Another method that could be fun is singing your affirmations. Sometimes I get tired of just saying them, so just sing them. Don't stop. Don't stop saying them, okay? That's the most important rule. Persist. but you can try singing them, try to play with them. It usually makes me feel so much better, and it actually gets me into the mood of the affirmation, like I'm kind of living the script of the main character. I am rich, I am rich. You can also combine affirmations with neuroplasticity techniques, and neuroplasticity is all about the fact that our brains are malleable, they always learn, they always change. So, neuroplasticity activities make your brain even more like plastic. Like, an example of these activities could be using your non dominant hand for like activities such as writing, brushing your teeth and stuff like that. Like, you might have heard of this technique of brushing your teeth with your non-dominant hand and just saying I love you to yourself as soon as you wake up. And this is good because your mind is in the theta state because you just woke up, and you're also using neuroplasticity techniques. So you're wiring neural pathways, and these new pathways are being embedded with the words I love you because that's what you're thinking at that moment. So other examples of neuroplasticity activities is creative stuff, for example, music, arts. You can also try to change your habits somehow. You can also learn a new skill, a new language, also mental games or anything that uses a lot of brain power. And also meditations, they do contribute to neuroplasticity. So when should you affirm? That's a good question. You affirm all the time. You can use the reminders we talked about to remind you of that. Another type of reminder you might like to use is a ring or this clicking counter thing. I'll try to find a picture of it, but basically you just click and every click is like an affirmation. It could be nice as a challenge and as a reminder. You can have a thread around your finger to remind you of a specific affirmation. For example, if you're manifesting for love, you can have a red um thread on your pinky finger, I guess. That could be fun. And other than that, other than affirming all the time, you should affirm whenever you're in doubt or you're feeling bad about yourself, because it's not the situation that is making you feel bad. It is your own thoughts and feelings about the situation, okay? You can affirm also whenever you remember the desire, affirm for it. And best times to do that are when you're sleepy or in the hazy state as well. So the theta state, because you're more susceptible. So you can do it when you're first waking up or before you sleep. You can also do it while daydreaming. And whenever you feel good and blissful, like you have a blissful existence. For example, I like affirming whenever I get my massages or whenever you're at the spa, you can do that. So we discussed a lot of techniques, right? You might be plagued with decision paralysis right now, and that's why I'm gonna share my routine at the end of the video, but I want you to know that everyone is different, so you can just try them out and keep the ones that are the easiest and most effective for you. And by effective, I mean they actually make you feel good. We're not looking at the 3D, we're focusing on the 4D, on our thoughts. So now let's discuss some dilemmas and questions. And before we start, I just want to say, just don't complicate it. There's no reason to worry about these little stuff. Just affirm. Whenever you start asking these big questions, it's because you are in doubt. But I just felt like I'd answer some because they might be important. I don't know. So, first question, is manifestation demonic or against a specific religion? Well, no, it is just psychology and science and religion are not opposites. Like for me, I'm a Muslim, and I think that when I started practicing affirmations, I actually got closer to God because I started understanding how God created this universe with its laws and how science validates that. So, yeah, like I said, science, religion are besties, okay? But yeah, I do stay away from any universe talk, any I am God type of talk. But honestly, it's up to you. If you don't want to do affirmations anymore because of how you feel about them, then good enough. Okay, so second question, which is more effective? Is it to say, write, or think the affirmation? For me, I think it's whatever grabs your attention and with it your emotions the most. Like, the most important thing is you focusing on them, okay? And I read from a book that repeating the statements back as it reads for you. So, for example, listening and repeating the affirmations back can be very powerful because it helps you internalize the messages even further. And I also heard from a psychologist that subvocalization, which is basically saying the affirmations under your breath, is shown to impress the subconscious mind into believing the affirmations. Like with patients with schizophrenia, the more they subvocalize, I mean, the more they believe their own delusions, for example. So, yeah, you can subvocalize them, do whatever it feels like. If you like speaking them out loud because it gives you power, do that. Okay, let's address this. I can't believe in affirmations. So, how will it change my reality? I just want to say, belief doesn't matter. Okay? Like, believing the affirmations will work will, like, tear down a barrier and make it easier and faster, plus make it easier for you to be more consistent, but it's not a requirement. Like, just try them out. Just have an experiment, a fun experiment with just affirming. Like, the thought and the new belief is getting embedded in your mind either way. So, next question is, should I do robotic or focus affirming? And like, robotic affirming means basically just affirming without thinking, like, I'm rich, I'm rich, I'm rich, I'm rich. Focus affirming is like giving your undivided attention to the affirmation and like feeling the feelings that come with the affirmation. So, I am rich, I am rich, stuff like that. And like our minds learn through feelings and repetition, so like strong emotional experiences are important. Yeah, focused affirmations are better, but like even robotic affirmations create different neural pathways in our brains. Like, just choose the one that works much easier for you, which is probably robotic affirmation. So you can just focus on robotic affirmation, and when you got the time, when you have the free time, do a focus saturation session based on the techniques we talked about before. So, should you affirm for self concept or for your desires or the topic? And honestly, it's your intuition here. Like, listen to your intuition, what feels best. Like, this situation is basically about whether you want to attack the root issue or layer, or you want to start with the outer layer. Manifesting specifically for a desire, let's say you want specific camera, for example, because I do want a camera, but anyways, let's say you want a specific camera, so you affirm for that. It might be easier to come by, but the manifestation or the affirmation won't specifically apply to everything, right? So it is much more variable and unstable when you affirm that way. But for me personally, I believe and prefer self concept affirmations because it targets your deeply held negative beliefs. And I have a video on that, a two-part series if you want to check it out. But basically, you have to be very patient with it, very patient with it. Like, because you are changing beliefs about yourself. And when you do that, if you change like a very core belief about yourself, like about I am not worthy, I am not enough kind of wound, all your manifestations will just become easier because, like, the reason you're not getting the money, the love, the relationship, the happiness is all the same core stuff. For example, one of my self concept affirmations is I have everything I ever wanted because everything I do works. And I really saw huge results with it, like opportunities popping up, successes happening, things becoming easier, things becoming faster. So, yeah, like it all happens at once and it all happens from all different areas of your life. Like, it's crazy when you focus on self concept. So, how long does it take to see your manifestation? Well, it is instant. Like we said, we're focusing on the 4D. Basically, stop waiting for your manifestations and focus on living your life, because, like, wondering when it will come is just you doubting, which is making it harder for your brain to accept the new affirmation, because you're basically like, I am rich. But when am I gonna become rich? I'm not rich yet. Ugh, when is my manifestation of becoming rich gonna come up? Like, you see, like, it's not equal. You're doubting more than affirming, so just don't think too much about it. So, when will it show up in real life? When you stop asking that question, when you have so much faith that is showing up, that is already here, that is coming, that's when it would happen, okay? Some like say that a habit like takes 21 days, 61 days, 99 days, I don't know how many days, but it's all arbitrary. Some people manifest it in like 2 minutes, some people 2 days, somebody did it in 2 years. It's all about how much you let these numbers, these constraints of reality hinder you. So if I were to summarize this entire section, I would say to just affirm until the affirmation becomes your new story and there's zero doubt about it in your mind. Okay, so last section, we're gonna talk about my routine. So, first, I focus on a self concept affirmation and I create a playlist that includes a subliminal, and I use it when I'm doing my night routine or when I'm scrolling, doing some type of activity that is not too mentally taxing. And I also include in the playlist the affirmation in my own voice for like sleeping or when I feel tired of just saying and thinking the affirmation. I might also add other affirmations made by other YouTubers or rampages that go along the same topic. Also, a meditation or hypnosis that is related to the affirmations. I basically switch up my affirmations when I succeed in them or when I find my mind thinking about another desire very strongly. I, like I said, use the minutely affirmations. I also use the clicker counter thing, which I'm wearing right now. I also rely on hourly affirmations to remind me to be grateful and present. We're not focused on only the affirmation itself. I also create hourly reminders to remind me to stay connected to my body and also to rampage if I can. So I rampage like every hour or when I'm walking to classes or back to my dorm room, like basically whenever I'm walking from place to place. And lastly, I incorporate saturation sessions. So, like I said, I use the Pinterest method. I use my hot girl walks and my exercises as saturation sessions. I saturate my mind whenever I feel bored or not stimulated much. I also saturate my mind whenever I'm praying. I might also saturate my mind with affirmations whenever I'm on bus rides, so I just keep saying the affirmation over and over. I also incorporate EFT tapping with affirmations, and that's all. Like, that was a very packed video. And oh my god, I wish you guys could see how long the recording was. It was very chaotic. I will end up cutting a lot of this. But yeah, I wish you could see also the amount of notes I got over here. It's very long, but I hope you guys found it helpful. Your homework this time would be to choose an affirmation, build a routine, a habit, or anything around it, and just stay consistent with it, okay? The only way you can change the routine is by adding more saturation to it. That's the only way. And remember, don't give up on yourself or your dreams. Let us all share like our beautiful routines that we've created to inspire each other. And if you have any questions, drop them down below. And of course, let us know about any success stories you got. And see you very soon, my loves. Bye bye.